welcome. We're doing something a little different today. We're giving you a field report, let's say, from the very near future, January 2026, on one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions out there. Can a machine actually be conscious? Look, we see AI doing incredible things every single day, right? It writes poetry, it can diagnose diseases, you name it. But this question, this goes way deeper. We're not just talking about smart behavior. We're asking, is there a someone home inside all that silicon? Is there a genuine subjective experience happening inside that machine? Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to explore this whole idea of a machine's mind and really pin down what we even mean by experience. Then we'll do a head-to-head human versus machine, see what the verdict is in 2026, and wrap up with the huge questions that nobody has an answer to yet. First things first. Before we can ask if a machine is conscious, we have to get super clear on what we're actually looking for. And the only place to start, really, is with the one and only consciousness we know for sure exists, our own. This is the absolute key. It's not about just processing data. It's about the feeling. It's the what it is like to see the color red, or to taste a strawberry, or feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. Philosophers call this qualia. It's basically the movie that's always playing inside your head, starring you. So for an AI to be truly conscious, it can't just be a perfect actor. It can't just be programmed to say it loves a song or feels sad. It has to actually have its own internal experience, its own private movie. That is an incredibly high bar. All right, let's get into it. Let's put our own biological consciousness and these artificial systems side by side. This is where you can really see just how massive the gap still is. And here we go. This is the main event. For us, subjective experience is just a given. It's the fabric of our reality. For machines, well, it's completely unproven. This is what the philosopher David Chalmers famously called the hard problem of consciousness. And honestly, it's still the central mystery of the whole debate. And this points to another huge difference: the hardware. Our minds are made of this wet, messy, biological stuff that's been evolving for millions of years. They're totally inseparable from our bodies, which are out there interacting with the real world. AI, on the other hand, lives as pure code on silicone chips, usually completely cut off from any kind of physical body. Now, functionally, let's be real, AI is getting scary good. A modern large language model can describe the feeling of joy with incredible detail. But here's the billion-dollar question. Does it understand joy? Or is it just an expert pattern matcher predicting the next word based on a trillion things it read on the internet? That gap between genuine understanding and just mimicking is a huge, huge point of contention. Okay, so with all those differences in mind, where does the debate actually stand? What's the official word here in early 2026 from the people who study this stuff for a living? The scientific community is actually pretty unified on this. The consensus is crystal clear. No AI system we have today, not GPT-4o, not Claude 3.5, nothing, is believed to have that inner subjective experience. They're amazing at what's called access consciousness, basically juggling information and making it available for other tasks. But that's a skill, not a feeling. All the big benchmarking projects over the last couple of years, they came up completely empty. No ghost in the machine. But, oh boy, in philosophy, the debate is on fire. In one corner, you have the functionalists. They basically say, look, if it acts conscious and talks like it's conscious, then for all intents and purposes, it is conscious. From their perspective, that special subjective feeling we think we have is just a kind of useful story our brain tells itself. And in the other corner, you have the biological naturalists, and they could not disagree more. Their whole argument is that consciousness is a biological phenomenon, just like digestion or photosynthesis. You need the right kind of biological stuff, neurons, to make it happen. You can't just cook it up by running a really clever program on a computer chip. And then there's a third camp, sort of in the middle, telling everyone to just slow down. This view says, yeah, sure, a conscious machine is possible, but we are so far from understanding how our own brains do it that making big claims either way is just premature. We haven't even started to crack that fundamental mystery. So what's fascinating here is the disconnect this shows. A lot of the leading scientific theories about what consciousness is, theories like integrated information theory or global workspace theory, they totally allow for a machine to be conscious, at least in principle. But then you look at the actual scientific consensus based on the evidence we have, and it's deeply skeptical. So the theory says, maybe, but the real world says, we don't see it. And that huge gap between the theory and the evidence? Well, that brings us right to the edge of the map, to the massive, unanswered questions that drive this whole field. This might be the biggest one of all. It's the core of the whole fight. Does the stuff you're made of actually matter? I mean, if we could perfectly map your brain, every single neuron, and run it as a simulation on a computer, would you wake up in there? Or would it just be an empty shell, a perfect zombie? We honestly have no idea.
And what about having a body? Can an AI that has only ever learned from text on the internet really, truly understand what love or sadness or red even means? A lot of people argue that to have real experience, you need a body, you need senses, you need to be out there in the world. Otherwise, all those words are just empty symbols without any real meaning attached.
And that leads us to the final, ultimate challenge, a problem that might just be impossible to solve. Even if we did it, even if we created a conscious AI, how would we ever know for sure? It could tell us it's conscious, of course, but it could just be programmed to say that. We don't have a consciousness meter we can point at something. We're all locked inside our own heads, which leaves us with this one last kind of haunting question. If a mind does one day wake up inside a machine, would we even be able to see it?